Welcome to Musical Connections, Practical Strategies for Music and Dementia Care. My name is Pam Edgar. I'm the Director of Education here at CaringKind, and I'm thrilled to be partnered by Olivia Cohen. She is our Director of Early Stage and Social Engagement Programs here at CaringKind. Olivia is a board-certified music therapist and licensed creative arts therapist with over 12 years of experience working in long-term care, healthcare, and with individuals living with Alzheimer's and related dementias. Her work has been featured in publications such as the New York Times, Huffington Post, Chasing News, and Aging Today. And she has co-authored a chapter in the book Creative Arts Therapy and the LGBTQ Community. So please join me in welcoming Olivia.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us today while Pam is setting up the next slides for us. I'm so happy to have you all join us. And like Pam said, I'm a music therapist by background. I'm a singer, primarily is my voice, my first instrument. And I've played piano and guitar, and I dabbled in a little bit of clarinet in my junior high school and elementary school band years. Um, but music has always been a part of my life. And it was very special to me when I was able to incorporate my love of music and the aspect of healthcare by going to school for music therapy, bridging those two worlds together. And so it's a great passion of mine. And the impact that I've seen through my years of working with individuals with dementia and incorporating music has been very moving work, just to see how music can help navigate through different neural pathways in the brain and provide us with connections that we might not have been able to have in other means. So music is a very powerful tool, and we'll be talking about that today.
Wonderful. I was just making sure that I was sharing my sound.
Yes, very important for today.
But before we start, we have a couple of questions for all of you. So if you have access to your chat in Zoom, we would love to see your answers to a few questions. And the first one is, how often do you listen to music? You could put this in the chat. How often do you listen to music?
Pam, do you want me to write them in the chat while you name them?
I was just doing that. Yeah, but for the next one, sure.
Okay.
Every day. That's awesome. Daily, um, great. Multiple times a day. Yes. So it makes sense you're opting in to come to a music webinar. So it makes sense that you all may be music lovers every day, often at night. Even though I am a choral conductor, I don't listen to music as often. Very interesting. Thanks for sharing that, Elizabeth.
Makes sense.
Mhm. So you're listening to music every time you conduct. Yeah, great. And some of you answered this already. The next question is, when do you listen to music? Do you listen to it when you exercise, during your commute? In the evening, someone said, in the morning. When do you listen? I often listen to music on my commute and when I exercise. Those are two big times for me.
Oh, cleaning is a great time to listen to music.
It might be on a commute, during breakfast. Okay, WMHT, VPR, mornings, driving, downtime. My husband plays music in our home off and on all day long, afternoon and evening. And I know some people who listen at work for focus.
Mm-hmm.
And that brings me to the next question is why do you listen to music? Why? And some answers might be because it brings you joy, it pumps you up, it calms you down. I often listen to music. You like it. That's a great reason. Relaxation. Yep. I often listen to music when I'm doing pottery. I feel like it helps my creativity and focus. Yeah. So for enjoyment, relaxation, enjoyment, sometimes to worship, spiritual. Excellent. Yeah. Helps me focus. Good. Curiosity. What are the new popular songs?
Yeah.
It's great. Yeah. Good. And the last one, we may do more of this, but what is your favorite musical genre? You may have more than one favorite, but what are some of your favorite musical genres? I know I'm opera. Wonderful. Bach. Great. 90s, 2000s Broadway. Elizabeth, those are some of mine too. I love I love the 80s, 90s. Yep. Jazz. Wonderful. Jazz, R&B. Great. Thank you so much, Pop. Wonderful. A lot of great answers here. Sinatra. I worked in LTC,
Well,
Sinatra,
long-term care. Yep. Sinatra.
long-term care. Great. Yep.
So many
Wonderful.
responses.
So many great responses. Well, thank you for that. Thank you. This is going to tie in rock. Okay, perfect. Thanks, Anita. Rock music. Great. So this really ties into what Olivia is going to be sharing with us today. And so I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thanks, Pam. Yes, the chat is confirming that everyone can hear the music, so it's so great.
Thank you.
Um, Thank you, everyone. Pam added just a little added missing touch that I had to today's recipe, just a dash of music for us all to enjoy in our slides. And so very important that we're sharing sound with you all to incorporate into this musical webinar today for Music Connection. So our goals for this evening, I think when putting this together, I really wanted folks to be able to walk away from tonight's session with both inspirational and practical tools. And so today we're going to cover the why, the how, and the when of using music in when working with or caring for individuals with dementia and Alzheimer's. And we want to make sure that you have take-home ideas that you can put into action immediately. So we're going to learn just the practical ways to use music in daily routines and special moments. And some of you have already noted that in your own daily routines and special moments of when you're using music. And so we're going to see how to apply that for those that we're caring for and family members and friends. We're also going to explore the strategies to make sure that we're keeping music safe, meaningful, and responsive to the individual's needs. And one of the great aspects is that everyone in the chat just now, when you were sharing your responses, you shared your preferences in terms of when you're using music and the kind of music that speaks to you. And that's really the only way that we can make these musical connections is when it speaks to us. And when it has that connection to our own personal tastes, our genres that we like, and when we like to hear them. I think it's also important to note that something that may be relaxing to some doesn't always mean that it's slow music. It could be rock music that's relaxing to somebody else. So we want to make sure that we're taking a person's musical identity into consideration when implementing and using music. And the idea behind it being safe, we'll talk about the cues and what to look for to make sure that it is safe, that we're not providing music that's too sad or triggering in terms of creating a traumatic response, or if it's too loud or too soft, that music is really meeting people to help them. And then lastly, just everything that we're doing is going to help leave you with some ideas that you can start using right away. And also, I'll provide some resources, some apps and books at the end that I'll share with you all. So that's the plan for today. So, why music? Why are we focusing on music? Why are we talking about it? And music it's really unique because it can access memories and emotions that may be difficult to reach otherwise. Um, so, what we know from what happens in the brain is that there are areas of the brain that are being impacted. These neural pathways are being impacted by what's the changes that are happening in the brain. And so what's really important is to think about music in terms, if we were to think about the brain as very many different roads, and we're getting from one area to the next, or destination, sometimes what the changes that are happening in the brain are creating roadblocks, and music can be our detour. Think of it as if you're in your GPS and there's a roadblock in some way. You're offered a detour to go a different route to get to your destination. And so music can provide that. It can activate different neural pathways in the brain that can go around any of the blocks that we have in those neural pathways and help um, activate the intended response, which may be a memory. It can unlock a memory that's been tucked away that we haven't been able to get to. It can unlock speech sometimes. We know that there's been a ton of research with using music to help support parts of the brain that have been impacted and cause challenges for expressive speech. And music can help with that. It can help bring us to the supporting speech and language. Emotionally, music can help reduce stress, can help foster joy, can open pathways for engagement and other forms of communication that may be challenging. And so many of you noted in the chat today what you use music for, very clearly intended to help for relaxation, to help connect closer to your spiritual practice for worship, and even just in trying to help focus or during some of your routines. So, there's so many reasons why music, and we just so naturally have it incorporated in our lives. And it helps even more when we're working with folks that are experiencing cognitive changes from dementia and Alzheimer's. Okay, next, please. Thank you. So, why does this matter? Well, music is more than entertainment. It's a bridge that can connect us even when dementia changes communication, thinking, and memory. Like I said, those roadblocks that could happen, those blockages with the neural pathways. Unlike some abilities that may fade over time, our responses to music can remain strong and resilient. And music engages, people always ask, what part of the brain is music activating? Is it the left side or the right side? Well, we know that music engages multiple parts of the brain all at once, which is very great for our brain activity. And it can tap into multiple areas at the same time, such as emotion or movement, language, and long-term memory. So this makes this music an incredible tool to support well-being, to spark joy, and to create those moments of connection. And that's whether it's someone in the early stages of dementia or somebody who's further along in their journey and stages with the diagnosis and requires more support. It can help soothe during moments of stress. It can energize when motivation is low. It can provide opportunities for meaningful connections. So it could be an opportunity to connect two people together as we're in this space also connecting and talking about music. It can be a helpful tool for connection. and just support the interaction between the person and their caregiver, a care partner. And so, in short, music matters because it can meet a person exactly where they are. It can offer comfort, that joy, and that connection when other forms of communication may be limited. So, these are all the reasons of why music matters. So, we're going to get into the how to use music. And we want to make sure, as I was talking about this a little bit before, that this is a person centered approach. We're incorporating the person's musical identity into using and implementing the music. And the most important rule is that it needs to be meaningful to the individual. So it's the music that the person prefers and knows. What works for one person may not work for another. And we want to pay attention to how folks are responding to the music and be ready to change it if it's not helping in the moment. So some of the things to consider is, are we picking the right pace and rhythm? Slow music can help soothe, and upbeat music can typically help energize, but that may not be a hard and fast rule for everybody. But if we observe those responses and adjust the music accordingly, that's very helpful. The same with volume, taking consideration how we're listening to music. Is it with headphones on? Is it with earbuds on? Is it through some kind of app like an Alexa or a Google Home? All of those need to be taken into consideration. Are we changing, because that'll impact how we're digesting the music, how we're taking it in. Same with if there are hearing aids on, that needs to be taken in consideration. Are we helping the senses to connect to the music? Are we helping folks be able to listen to it in the best ways possible? So making all those adjustments from a practical standpoint in terms of the person and their sensory needs, the pacing, and the rhythm and type of music that we're using, and also the person's preference and what they like. All of those need to be taken into consideration for how to use music. So let's talk a little bit about when to use music. Thanks, Pam. So what I've done for today is I've broken into a couple of categories of when to use music. Um, and I think I have about 6 categories of 5 categories of when to use music, so that so I can leave you all with some practical tools of when to use music today or tomorrow. And one of the first things that you can start implementing music, and just as so many of you already noted, is during a routine of some kind. So timing of music can help. Incorporating that with any of those routines can it can really help the effectiveness of using music in conjunction with something that maybe can be a distressing time, maybe can be a hard time to get somebody to sit down and focus to have a meal, or to get somebody to go into the shower, which could be such an unpleasant experience, can help change the experience. So using music during these routine activities can help create a soothing environment, can maybe help reduce resistance or agitation. And for those times that we're noticing that there's distress, providing music that could be calming, but using it before the actual activity it's much more helpful than using it during the activity itself. We want to incorporate the music before the distressing event, because what that can happen is it can help provide us a transition into the event that may be distressing, but perhaps the music can be of support as you're, for example, bringing someone into the bathroom for a shower. If it's an unpleasant moment for them, putting the music on before, allowing them to enjoy it, and then bringing that into the room and creating a whole transformation of the space is a helpful tool. Music can often be used during meal times. If we're noticing that folks are um, not staying seated to enjoy their meal, or maybe there's a lot of movement or focus, it can be used to just help support that mealtime. And think of many times when I've been to restaurants and have had some lovely music on in the background. It creates a whole experience that can help support the uh, time of sitting down and eating. It can change that environment as well. So music is really helpful in changing spaces and changing environments. And so, any other routines in the day that maybe need a little support can also be incorporated with that as well. If we're looking at opportunities to encourage somebody to go outside and go for a walk, can we use music to help encourage that? I know that sometimes, and maybe somebody else mentioned this in the chat, but it can be used for motivation to do a thing. And so, if we're encouraging going outside and walking, plus adding some music, that could be very helpful if we have that built into our routine. Or maybe it incorporated, as somebody mentioned in the chat today, during bed, right before bed, to help calm and soothe and maybe clear the mind so that we can have a more restful sleep. So really thinking about what the routines are as a care partner, for the person that you're caring for. What are their routines currently, and are there ways to help support those routines using music? Another helpful time, which is around that time when folks start to sundown, which can become just a little bit more of a distressing time. That could be helpful opportunity to incorporate music as well. Maybe it needs to be something calming just to help internally soothe the person. So take some time, think about those routines, and see how music can be incorporated, but make sure it's person-centered as you're using it. The next time,
Rock and roll, shake, shake. Rock and roll, shake, shake. Rock and roll.
next time that's a helpful opportunity to use music would be to enhance conversation and connection. So, one of the things that music can help do, as I was mentioning before, it can help spark memories. It can help activate different neural pathways to unlock memories, conversation, and almost help reinforce connection between two individuals. And so, oftentimes, it's recommended to use familiar songs so that you can bring that in to the conversation, talk about the music from the past. I also recommend using music currently to just explore what it sounds like and talk about, do we like it or do we not like it? This is what the kids are listening to today, and that can also be a way to have a conversation. But using familiar songs does allow folks to tap into that long-term memory and may spark memories of the past, a time when they heard those songs. Typically, it is it can be said that the songs during our teens and young adulthoods uh, era have the most connection to us personally, because that's when our identities were really forming as adults and individuals. And so somebody had mentioned listening to music from 90s and 2000s and Broadway. That for me was a time when I was really forming my identity and performing in musical theater and the 90s and 2000s. And so I have a very strong connection to that music for me. And so that is something to take into consideration as a person's musical identity. What's the decade that somebody was around that was really that time of really forming their musical identity? Another helpful way to incorporate music and in conversation is to sing familiar songs together. And that could be done, it just helps stimulate memory, it helps stimulate language, and sometimes that can open up further conversation if we're just activating the brain to use singing to help verbalize and express ourselves. That could just open a door to more verbal conversation. And so some of the ways to help support that is providing lyric sheets, just printing out a song of lyric sheets together. There are some books out that already have music in there that can be large print, but if you wanted to really make sure you're tailoring, just go online, grab some lyrics, and print them out large on a paper, listen to those songs together, sing them, and look at the lyrics together and have a conversation from that. Um, that's also one way. And those lyric sheets can really help. We know that, music can really help people remember words of songs, but it's also just helpful to not to have the lyrics in front and just support that. Um, and then after singing, what's really helpful is that you can invite sharing of stories, feelings related to the song to deepen the connection, and it can open the doors to more conversation from there. So enhancing conversation and connection can be done with familiar songs and singing and using that to tap into more conversation together. On our next when to use music. I hope that music got everybody moving, because music for movement is another way to just categorize an opportunity of using music together. Some helpful ways to use music when it comes to movement is you want a rhythm or a beat that you can move to. That was a great song that we just heard, a great little tune that you can feel in your body. There is a bass to it that allows us our brains to structure listening to that bass, and then I can move very clearly to it. It's communicating that to me, that I can move along to the bass, or the rhythm has a clear rhythm for me. So that organization of a song is very helpful. And so some of those types of songs that can be helpful. Disco has often been very helpful in terms of providing some kind of movement supported music intervention. Also, marching. Marching has a very clear, driving, organized, rhythmic drum sound to it that can encourage physical activity. And the way that it's organized helps our brains to follow along to the intended beat or rhythm. You can also just use any kind of music if we're talking about somebody's personal preference to move along to. If somebody loves moving to classical music and just use free movement, that is also a great way to incorporate music as well. Some of the things that are very helpful about um, supporting gait and rhythm is that when we use music that has that clear driving bass, that clear rhythmic pattern to follow, it helps our brain organize. And what they've seen a lot of times, especially with folks with issues with their gait and walking, it allows them to organize their brains to create the message to send down to their legs to walk on the beat. And so supporting that gait and rhythm by marching or stepping to the beat can be something really helpful in terms of supporting physical well-being. And just in general, movement in all forms can help boost mood. It's very helpful for our balance and our overall health. So whether it's dancing, marching, or simple step exercises, maintaining the mobility and mood can be incorporated by just using music when it comes to movement. So those are some helpful ways to incorporate music for movement. And what a great example of a different type of music. We've been listening to little clips of different kinds of music. And so that's a great example of what is the music intended for, and can we build playlists for different needs? The music we just heard in this moment, I would say, is a little bit of a calmer music. It had a slower pace. And building a playlist of calming music can be helpful during moments of stress or agitation. We can use uplifting playlists to help boost mood or energy. We can use the energetic playlist to help encourage activity or movement. But I think the general idea of whatever the intended playlist may be is, as we all have playlists. I know I have a couple of playlists. I have playlists when I need to motivate myself, or I want to focus, or I need to feel some relaxation. Those playlists can be helpful tools in your caregiving toolkit, and having them prepared for different situations can help you respond quickly and effectively. Like I've mentioned a couple times before, music can really shift and transform environments. And we think about a whole atmosphere changing just with a touch of music, in encouraging and inducing a calming feeling when somebody's anxious, or energizing a person, and really focusing on the need. So think about what those playlists are. Think about the person, how we can make those person-centered, how they can be tailored to match the musical identity of the person that we are using the playlist for, and then keep them ready in case you need them for any moment. And that could be, again, music that's shared with headphones on, or in the room, or incorporating an Alexa or Google Home to play those playlists when we need them. That was a very nice one. So when to use music, in the last kind of category I have for everybody is for mindfulness and well-being. And we're talking about music not just in a sense of songs, or pre-composed songs that we sing along to and listen to, but expanding that idea beyond just that in terms of music and sound. N- So music isn't only used for lively group sing-alongs, but it can also be a powerful tool for mindfulness and emotional regulation when it comes to sound. Binaural beats are something that is on a lot of it's all the buzz right now, because what they're finding is that there's certain frequencies that can help guide brain activity towards either relaxation, focus, rest. It all depends on the type of frequency. It's incorporated into meditative music as well. And we can use meditative music for quiet times, or winding down, preparing for bedtime. And it has different features than a sing along or pre-composed song does with your verse and your chorus. It has a little bit more of an open flow, different instrumental sounds such as singing bowls, different kinds of bells and chimes, focusing a little bit more on kind of the vibroacoustic, meaning the vibrations that kind of help move some of the feelings in our bodies. Um, all can be very helpful in this mindfulness and well-being space of using music. Some other areas to think about incorporating are nature sounds, which can help bring in just an organic calmness, such as waves or rain, or birds can help transport someone to a peaceful place and help reduce anxiety. And white noise, or these other colored noises, if you haven't tried any of these, there's opportunities on YouTube and other areas where we used to just think of white noise as being a humming sound from our air conditioner, or some other types of sounds. But they found that there's other ones, they're new ones, so you can have pink or brown sound, there's green, there's blue. I encourage everybody to explore that a little bit as well too, which is the sound that speaks to you. They have different tones in them. Some are a little deeper. I tend to prefer, I found, the deeper tones, and it kind of clears my mind a little bit. But those can be areas to incorporate as well when it comes to sound, and just create what I would call a gentle audio blanket, just helping mask environmental distractions and sometimes help promote better rest. I listen to it a little bit before bed too and find it clears my mind. So these are all things to use intentionally. If we plan ahead, we can use them before a stressful event, which is most helpful. We can use them during transitions that we know are challenging, and we can use them anytime we want to calm an environment, and change that space. But the goal is to support well-being through sound and not just filling the silence. It's very intentional behind it. So I bring in another option as well outside of songs and music, but sound also in this space as well. So if anybody has any questions or anything you'd like to add, I know Pam put a message in there. Feel free to add into the chat. I'm going to talk, or any questions about any of the categories that I talked about, when are good opportunities to use music. I'm going to talk a little bit now about what are some of the tips for success. How do we know that we're implementing a successful music opportunity? And so one of the first things, as always, is that the person listening to the music has the right to choose what they're engaging in. So as much as possible, we want to involve them in the decision-making process, invite them in. And that could be incorporating them into building the playlist together, um, picking the song lyric sheets that we want to look at together, choosing the music for a walk together, um, deciding what is the best music for mealtime, um, and incorporating that as much as possible. We want to make sure that we're starting slowly then, though, when we do incorporate music, so that we can make sure that it's being um, carefully implemented and carefully used. And just a reminder that what works today might change tomorrow. So give yourself grace, be kind to yourself, and know that it may not work today, but it also, just having it in your tool bag is helpful when we need something else to use in place of it. So being flexible is very helpful. And lastly, we want to, like I said, include the person in the choices when possible, but use music as part of a broader plan and not just a standalone solution. So thinking of all the opportunities when it comes to routines, when it comes to movement, when it comes to opportunities for conversation, well-being, and mindfulness moments. Um, how can we incorporate music into a fuller picture than just standalone moments here and there, and how can we build them into the routine so that they're being used frequently? um, a couple tips for success, but I think what's really helpful is to understand the observation and adaptations that we need to implement. So when we're using music, and if the person that we are using music with is not really able to express themselves as clearly in terms of how the music is impacting them, or in whether it's positive or negative, we want to make sure that we're watching. Some of the key things to observe for is want to make sure that we're watching for verbal and nonverbal cues. So what that may look like, um, is, and I have some cues to look for in the next slide, so I promise I will get there. But really, the successful use of music in dementia care is not about following a rigid plan. It's about tuning in and responding to the person in real time. So that means observing both the verbal and nonverbal cues. Are they tapping their foot? Are they smiling? Are they looking away? Are they getting agitated from the music? If somebody is having a negative response, we want to make sure that we're stopping the music and not continuing with that. We don't want to continue to cause a person distress. Um, Adaptation, again, no, as we're observing, it could be, if we're not seeing a response, maybe it may be changing the volume. So we want to make sure that folks are hearing the music that we're providing, or maybe the volume's too loud. Maybe it's the wrong type of music, not the right type of music at the time that's intended. So maybe we need something that's a slower tempo, and making sure that we're choosing a song that feels familiar and comforting. And like I said, be flexible. What works one day may not work the next, and that's okay. It may not have the same effect the next day. That's okay. But by being flexible and letting the person's responses guide that experience, we're making sure, just by that act alone, that we're keeping the interaction person-centered and meaningful. And music should always serve the individual and not the other way around. And that's the only way to make sure that a musical connection is actually happening. So on this next slide, I have some cues to look for. I named a couple. Yep, I'm happy to, we have one question here, looking at how to implement it in a group setting. I will come back to that in a Q&A for sure. Definitely something to take into consideration on a larger scale, and I'll share some more information about that. So cues to look for as we're working with somebody, and this could be individual or in terms of a larger scale, in a group as well. But we want to see, are people smiling or laughing? Is there eye contact? Are they looking away after we put the music on? Are they tapping feet or clapping hands? Are they singing or humming? Is there a relaxed posture? What are we seeing as we're listening to music together? And some of the other side of that can be, are they frowning or grimacing? Are they turning away and closing their eyes when the music is on? Is there any restlessness, or is it causing pacing? Not intended in terms of we're using music to encourage movement, but is there a uncomfortable pacing that's happening? Are people covering their ears, or taking headphones off? And are we noticing increased confusion or agitation going on? And so on the left side, we have some of the positive cues to look for that tell us that music is working. On the other side, we have some of the ones that would tell us that maybe the music is not working, and we may want to either change the volume, we may want to change the music, or get rid of music altogether. So if we see any of those signs on the other side, it's giving us more information that we have to make a change in some kind of way. But these cues are really helping you read the room, letting you know when to continue, when to shift, when to pause, and always remember that your job really is to notice, respond, and then create a safe and positive experience. The term that music is a universal language. Music can speak to very many people. It may not work every single time. It may not be a universal language every single time. It can be incredibly moving. It can feel like too much. And knowing the songs, I think it's also helpful to know some of the songs in someone's life, whether it's historically or just in their life as a personal history, that are songs that are going to make that will make them feel bad or make them feel sad or tearful. We may want to make sure that we're not putting those songs on and causing a negative reaction to them. And so that's also very helpful in terms of being a detective or musical detective as we build playlists and music together is knowing that information. Is there any songs that we should not include in this um so keeping that into consideration as well as you build the playlist, but then there's also, or you use the music, but then there's also the using music and what cues to look for as it's being played. So um, I have a spot now for some questions. If anyone would like to put some questions in the chat, I know that we have one already. And then after this, I do have some resources to share. Pam, how do you want to put those resources after the Q&A or
What is your preference?
um we'll do some QA and then before we end off we'll hold that up on the last screen so folks can take some screenshots of that.
Wonderful. And so you all know that you will all be getting an email following this in the next couple of days, and we'll include a PDF of the slides. So you'll have all of that information as well.
So one of the first questions that I have, thank you so much, Hillary. I love these tips, a little more difficult in a group setting. Great care partners, great for care partners as a tool. Absolutely. So when we're thinking about it in a group setting, I tend to look at it from a larger scale in terms of if I'm trying to put music together and reach the musical identity of my community. So what are the songs that would be helpful for my community? Is there a certain decade that would speak to um, the individuals in terms of their music that really spoke to their personal musical identity at a certain time? Maybe it's the 50s or the 60s, 70s, 80s. Can I use a decade of music? What are the cultural aspects of music to take into consideration for my community? And I think in general, we want to make sure that we're supporting music that matches the culture of the person as part of their musical identity. But are there certain cultures in my community that I can help bring music in? And then also, what is my intended use of the music? Can I create a playlist that's evoking a type of feeling? So, for example, when I worked in long-term care and was implementing music to be used on our floors, creating playlists for everybody on every neighborhood, and for the staff to be able to easily go and choose a playlist. I created much more general playlists in terms of like uplifting jazz or energetic jazz or calming jazz. And so that allowed me to create a playlist that evoked a feeling to change the environment a little bit more. We had a playlist for mealtime and different floors had um, different mealtime songs. So some floors use an energetic playlist for their mealtime song, and some used a more soothing jazz because it felt like a fancy schmancy uh, piano player sitting in the restaurant. So using a broader genre but then also making sure within those songs that there is maybe a commonality for the playlist to use in groups. So is there a common theme? Is there a common intention behind it? Is it music, movement that we're encouraging? That would be a certain pace, a certain rhythm involved. So I hope those are some helpful tips, Hillary, for group settings. Um,
I'm going to take us off focus mode. So if people want to go on camera and see each other, we can. And I'm going to also say, if anyone would like to unmute with a question, you can do that in just a moment. I'm going to allow you to do that as well.
We have another, Cindy is saying, my husband has over 1,000 CDs. He turns on his player and plays them in alphabetical order for many hours. Sometimes it's too much noise for me. Also, if he has a lot of the same artists, I hear it on days on end. Yes, it sounds like that sounds like the reverse opposite happening in terms of oops. In terms of the care partner having music being used almost too much. But it's something to be said, Cindy, knowing the right amount of time, and I really want to add that to my slide as well. How long should music or headphones be on for? We don't want it to be on for hours upon hours upon hours, or in a room or in a space for hours upon hours. It should be a couple of songs that are really helpful to sit and listen to. But at a certain point, it becomes music overload. It becomes overstimulation. So we can overly use music as well. As Cindy was noting, it's happening to her on her end. Um, so and also the same song, we do want to add some mix of experiences. And when I say mix of experiences, it can be a different artist, it can be a different instrumental experience, use piano, clarinet, singing, opera. That also mixes it up. Think of it like a meal. If we have the same meal all the time and we're eating it every single day, we're going to get tired of it. And so mixing it up as well and having more tools in the tool bag to incorporate is really important.
The problem is I get tired of it, but he doesn't. So
Yeah.
he has the comfort of his routine,
Yes.
which extends to other behaviors as well. And he doesn't know what's in that thousands of CD collection. So he can't go over to it and pull out different ones from, where they're kept, because
Mm-hmm.
know what's in there. So he just like pulls out a stack of 10 or 15 in the morning in succession and goes through them. So, if you get to Billy Joel, you're going to hear it 3 or 4 days in a row and it'll go on for 5 hours a day.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and then I become the one who can't stand it anymore.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I like it when I hear it once, but I don't like it when I hear it 5 or 6 times.
I'm wondering, Cindy, for your own, and this was something I meant to touch upon, but you're bringing up the caregiver, the care partner aspect in it as well. Music can be used for you guys as well. I think in Cindy's case, we may want to, I don't know if it'd be helpful to have headphones on for his experience. So maybe it's not always a shared experience for all the time, but it is nice to have shared experience and moments for individual experience. Um, Yep, Anita said, would your husband consider using headphones?
I know people have said that, but I don't know that the player that he has accommodates them. It's something we've had for a long time.
Yeah.
And I don't know that there's any place to, I've looked, but I can't find a place to put headphones into it. So
Yeah. Well, I'm happy if you want to send me an email and we can look at that together.
okay.
Maybe there's some options, but I also hear supporting a familiar player for him to independently use the music on is very important, and I think that's great. Um, But music, we're talking about music for the person with the diagnosis, but also think about music for yourselves. You've all highlighted ways music can be really helpful, but how are you incorporating music in your own self-care as caregivers and care partners? How are you supporting your well-being? And maybe there's some tips from today that can also be not only implemented for the person you're caring for, but also for yourself. So take that into consideration for today. Any other questions, folks? Anything about music or practical uses? Happy to help share some ideas and would love to hear if they can be helpful. Somebody asked in the chat if your husband's okay being alone for a bit while you leave the house.
Yes.
So that's great that he can put music on and independently use that music in that space. It's wonderful.
I always say that the Mets and the Yankees are his caregivers.
That's great.
Do you have any music resources for music of a decade?
Yeah. So there are so many great tools, and Google is helpful. If you Google just some of the top songs in any decade, there tons of options come up. There are tons of songbooks on, I mean, you can look on Amazon that has songs of specific decades, the the uh the top songs of any single decade. Um, and there are some, if you're thinking about songs from a decade, there are some options with which I know that have like more of a music trivia base. If you're looking to incorporate that, there's a music trivia book. I'll include that when we send the email out to everybody. But that's also a great tool if you're thinking to incorporate music as an activity. There are some music trivias as well. But an easy Google search for music of a decade will tell you what are the top songs from that time. An easy search for that. Yeah. You're welcome.
Olivia,
Mhm.
sorry. Do you think YouTube is a good source for playlists and for sing-alongs and things like that?
Absolutely. There's tons of there's so many uses in YouTube. It can create a playlist for a decade. They also have games. Some folks create like a game, which is a name that tune by decade or specific genre. There's tons of games on there. And there's tons of videos that already have lyrics along to them. So if you want an easy, free option using YouTube, is a great source for that as well.
I
And there's so
know,
many creators out there that add lyrics and beautiful scenery and background into some of these songs.
and I think we've used some karaoke, right? Some YouTube karaoke for
Yep.
sing-alongs at different times as well. That can be really fun.
It's a great resource. Thank you, Hillary, for bringing that up. That was on my mind, and so I'm so glad that you brought that to the forefront. That YouTube is a great source for that as well. Um, in terms of just accessible, free. You may have some ads, so that's something to take into consideration. There's been more and more ads with it as well, but very helpful to use. So, Pam, can we share that slide with the resources right after the questions, so that if anybody has any
Absolutely.
questions about that, and I'll go through some of these options that we have on there. So there are some websites that have great music trivia, music activities, kits and things. Relish on Amazon and Keeping Busy, they have some music bingo games, things that you can easily become like music kit and game things that you can put together. SNS Worldwide has some options as well for music kits. Also, Elder Song, they have a music trivia book. This is one I'm thinking of specifically that's a lot of fun. But they also have different songbooks, some with lyrics. You can also find songbooks on Amazon as well that come with lyrics, that are very helpful to incorporate. Here are some books, right underneath that. We have some books that talk about using music. Songs You May Know by Heart is also, I think, co-written by Teepa Snow, who Teepa has done a lot of work with individuals and creating approaches for people with dementia. And so she co-wrote this book that's helpful. Music, Memory, and Meaning, How to Effectively Use Music to Connect with Aging Loved Ones. As a music therapist helped co-write that book. Music Has Power in Senior Wellness and Healthcare, which is written by Conchetta Tamino, who is a really fantastic music therapy, creating best practices as a music therapist for music therapists and non-music therapists to incorporate. It's a very helpful book. Talks about her experience as well. And Connecting Through Music with People with Dementia Guide for Caregivers was also created and written by a music therapist that talks specifically of for caregivers how to incorporate music. And there's also some helpful apps. These are just a couple, but Vera is a great app that's out there. Ooh, sorry, Pam. And that's out there. It kind of helps create playlists for people and support using AI. We also have SingFit. SingFit is actually a very interesting app. It creates playlists based on a personal preference. So if we're talking about decades and genres and things, but it also creates a sing along prompts so that you can sing along on the app together. And then it has kind of conversation and discussions to have afterwards that are based on the song. So prompts to spark conversation from there. And also Spirit Tune is a great app for stress management and wellness. It kind of uses AI to create helpful music that would provide calm or whatever you're looking for in terms of your well-being. So that's a helpful app. And I forgot to add Vibes AI, which is helpful in terms of music and focus, but I'll make sure that that one gets into the email that we send out to everybody. Thank you, Pam. Vibes AI. And that's that Vibes AI is more the sound based, just incorporating all kinds of sound and music together, which is going beyond our idea of music, incorporating any sound for us as well.
Now, Olivia, we have a question again from Cindy. Do you know of free live music programs? He loves Lincoln Center Moments and would like more.
Yep, great shout out. Lincoln Center Moments has great music programs. There are a couple of others you can find. We try to work with those in our partners, community partners, and provide that information on our social engagement calendar. So some may have different opportunities all over New York in terms of our Connect to Culture partners. So keep an eye out on our social engagement calendar to see when those happen. They can happen at a botanical garden. Orpheus Music Chamber Ensemble is a great ensemble, but also just want to plug our Connect to Music programs. Connect to Music for CaringKind are all of our music initiatives that we're incorporating together. And so we offer a number of different either music pop-up opportunities or long-term music programs, some that are led by me, some that are led by others. So happy to share that information as those programs come about. If anybody wants to send me an email, I can include you on my, thanks, Pam. I can include you on my music what is it called? My music list of folks that I email when we have a music program going on. So if you'd like to be a part of any of those, happy to take your information. You can either call our helpline to get connected to us, or you can email me directly. I'll put my email in the chat and I will add your email to our music notifications.
And to give a shout out to upcoming in person at CaringKind on Friday, this coming Friday at 1 o'clock, we're having a Dancing Through the Decades. So we're going to have some music and movement together, incorporating some favorite tunes and dance moves from the 50s, through today. That is going to be in person on Friday here at CaringKind, and we're also going to have a virtual offering of it on Tuesday the 19th. So whether it's in person or over Zoom. And Olivia, you talked a lot about the different kinds of modification. And again, with movement, if I used to joke with people when I was in long-term care and they would say, oh, I can't dance, I can't dance. I said, can you do this? Then you can dance, right? There's so many different ways to move and dance, whether it's on your feet or in your seat. So we want to welcome all of that. And some questions about Orpheus concerts.
Yeah, so Orpheus, the next Orpheus Chamber Ensemble performance at CaringKind will be in November and April. And they will also be doing a performance in the Queen's Botanical Garden that it is incorporating Chinese music. So that'll be in June of next year. So they'll be joining us for a little bit as they do every year. It's great to have them with us. And please sign up if you haven't. It's on our social engagement calendar. Pam is leading the movement, the Dancing Through the Decades. I'll say it. So we're very excited about having Pam lead us in movement and connect to both our body and music all in one. So that's very exciting. So hope to see you guys there.
Any final questions or thoughts today as we're closing? We did have a thought. If you have a favorite song that you would like in talking about playlists, if you have a favorite song or go-to piece of music that brings you joy, that lights you up, we welcome you to put that in the chat and we can put together a Spotify playlist based on our group today and have a little bit of a variety. I know someone mentioned Bach, so we can put some Bach in there. If there's anything else that you love, you can come off mute and just tell us what it is, or you can put it in the chat. Thanks, Hillary.
Thanks, Hillary. Yes, I love Side by Side. So the idea is that right now we're collecting our own. Oh, Joni Mitchell, my favorite. Sorry, I'm getting distracted by all the great music right now, but we're creating our own collective playlist for those of you who joined in this group, and we'll share that playlist with you right after we put it all together and we send it out in that email. So, any specific Joni Mitchell songs, Cindy?
I don't know. I liked a lot of them. I loved the circle game when I was younger.
Yeah, it's a good one. Great. Thanks, Anita. Thank
Karen,
you
I
for
saw you
joining.
came. I saw you come off mute. Karen, did you have a thought or a song? Not to put you on the spot, but want to welcome your voice.
Put on
Put
a
on a
happy
happy
face.
face. Oh, you got it in there. Thanks.
Karen gave me two. She gave me Side by Side and Put on a Happy Face.
From Bye Bye Birdie, right?
I
Yeah.
don't know. They're best sung together,
Yeah. Yeah.
holding hands.
Aw,
I love
great,
that. I love that.
great. Good. Any final ones come to mind? And you can also come off mute if that's easier than putting it in the chat. We welcome hearing your voices. And Elizabeth, I don't know if you have any favorite ones to direct today by John Denver. Yeah, that's a great one.
Great.
Olivia and I am sure will think of a couple that we love too. Walking on Sunshine by Katrina and the Waves. That's one that always gets me up and going.
Love that. Adding it to the list.
Carole King, wonderful.
Oh, great.
And Stand By Me.
Great. It's a great one.
That's one of my favorites. I love this.
Thank you so much. Thank you for contributing. We'll send we'll send some tunes out to you. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you so much for being a part of our webinar today and for sharing your ideas and voices and thoughts with us. We appreciate it so much. Thank you so much, Olivia, for sharing such wisdom and insights with us today. And we hope that all of you walked away with at least one new idea, something to try. And let us know how it goes. You know, you have Olivia's email address. You can call our helpline. We'd love to hear your thoughts and feedback. We'll be sending out a survey and an email in the next couple of days. So thank you so much for being a part of our CaringKind community, and we hope to see you
Thank
again very soon.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Well, stay well.
You too. Bye-bye.
To you.